Chapter 21. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Soon, the match with Bilbao is about to begin. Li Chu is still full of fighting spirit, however, Jack seems a little listless. What's wrong, Jack? If you are unhappy, tell me and make me happy. Because of eating, sleeping and training with Jack, Li Chu and brother Jia are naturally very close now. Looking at the heartless Li Chu, Jack is still a little depressed. Li, what time is it? You still have the mind to joke with me? We are about to play against Bilbao. I know. You know shit. Last season, we played against them and were completely beaten by the opponent, okay? Oh, so you are scared by the opponent, right? Look at your achievements. Get out. Then tell me. How did Bilbao beat you? Get out. However, in the end, Jack explained to Li Chu the situation of the match last season. I can only say that Bilbao's youth team is indeed something, because Li Chu used to pay attention to La Liga, he only knew Real Madrid and Barcelona. As a result, after hearing Jack talk about Bilbao, the Basque Lion, Li Chu knew that there was such a magical team in La Liga. Not to mention that it has never been relegated in 100 years, the Lezama youth training camp is actually a very civilized youth training in the whole of Spain and even the whole of Europe. If La Masia had not produced Messi and Xavi's group of superstars of the Dream Team 3, then the best youth training camp in Spain should be Bilbao's Lezama. There are also many superstars who came out of here: Kepa, Laporte, Herrera, Javi Martinez, Llorente, and the youth training products here are actually the same as La Masia. From the beginning of entering the training camp, the team has been instilled with the philosophy of the Bilbao team. So when teams from other regions take a fancy to Bilbao's players, in addition to obtaining the consent of the players themselves, they will eventually have to pay a considerable amount of liquidated damages to the Bilbao club to take them away. And the average Bilbao player, even if faced with the temptation of a wealthy club, they rarely choose to leave the club. This is the strongest foundation of the Basque Lions, and in the Basque region, players from clubs such as Real Sociedad, Osasuna, Alaves, Eibar, etc., have actually had a childhood dream of playing for Bilbao. After hearing Jack's words, Li Chu had no other feelings, but finally found the reason why European football can lead the world, with such a football atmosphere and youth training environment. If other people's football is not successful, then who can succeed? Could it be Yen country? Seeing Jack still chattering there, Li Chu suddenly thought of something. Jack, I still don't understand why other teams are reluctant to poach Bilbao's players. You know, Real Madrid and Barcelona are usually very generous. You don't know this. So, Jack began to explain Bilbao's operations to Li Chu. So, Bilbao club does not have superstars like Messi or Ronaldo, and the salary structure of the entire team is quite reasonable. Without the so-called superstars, the financial burden is very small, and the club is not stingy, so it takes out more money, making the overall salary of the team much higher than the entire La Liga. Only Real Madrid or Barcelona and Atletico Madrid, which has risen in the past 2 years, have higher salaries than Bilbao. And the salary of Bilbao's youth team is even more exaggerated, at least 10 times ours. Speaking of this, Jack's face was full of light. No wonder. It is not stingy to spend money. No wonder for Bilbao's players, the big teams are really not very attractive. Soon, the match between Real Madrid and Bilbao is coming. During this week, Li Chu and others clearly felt the tense atmosphere. There is no way, seeing Zidane's big dark circles and his hurried figure every day, even the training in the past 2 days was ignored and left to the assistant to host. Naturally, such emotions were also passed on to all the players of Real Madrid. Fortunately, Li Chu didn't care about it. After all, compared to being awesome, can you be more awesome than the system? It can be said that at this time, Li Chu had the best mentality in the whole team. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon on the weekend, at Real Madrid's home court, the referee blew the whistle for the game. Bilbao kicked off first. As a result, Li Chu soon. Now I understand why Jack was a little scared when he mentioned Bilbao. The reason is very simple, because it has been 7 minutes since the start of the game. As a result, Real Madrid still had 0 touches. This made Li Chu feel incredible. Bilbao's youth team, the technology flow is a bit exaggerated. Even if Barcelona's youth team came at this time, I am afraid they can't do better, right? When the trial stage is over, Bilbao finally showed its fangs. After the trial in the opening stage, Bilbao identified Real Madrid's right side. Santos was responsible for the right defense. The result, with the skillful cooperation between several players in the front court of Bilbao, Santos was easily passed. After passing Santos, Real Madrid's right side became an unguarded area. Several Bilbao players ran all the way and passed the ball to each other. Soon, the ball came to the penalty area of Real Madrid. Player number 9 finally pushed the ball into the far corner of the goal easily. 1:0. This lightning-fast goal directly made the entire Real Madrid side fall into silence. At this time, the goalkeeper fished the ball out of the goal while shouting loudly. Hearing the scolding of his own goalkeeper, Santos also lowered his head in self-blame. Soon, Real Madrid kicked off from the center circle, but, finally, when they came to the penalty area of Bilbao, the players had no better offensive opportunities, and tried to shoot from a long distance, and the ball flew to the distant stands. It was too high. On the Bilbao side, the goalkeeper immediately threw the ball to the defender next to him and made a quick serve. Li Chu, who had been observing in the midfield, finally saw the strength of Bilbao. When the Bilbao players were advancing with the ball, their individual speed was not particularly fast. However, each player handled the ball very simply. In addition, the offensive players moved quickly, so the ball quickly reached the right side of Real Madrid, facing the Bilbao players who came together. Sanchez seemed so helpless at this time. Bilbao, really strong. Chapter 22. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the end, this attack was resolved by the goalkeeper. However, the goalkeeper was obviously quite dissatisfied with his team's defense, so he shouted loudly again, remind Santos to be more active in defense. In the subsequent games, Bilbao identified Santos here, as if to tell you clearly that Santos is the defensive weakness of Real Madrid. After sprinting to the right again and again, Bilbao finally reaped the rewards. In the 27th minute of the game, Bilbao's players broke through from the right again with the ball. Although Real Madrid's players have consciously stood further to the right, they can provide support in the first time. As a result, when Santos was broken through again, Bilbao's players were very smart to make a large-scale transfer, because Real Madrid's back line was attracted to the right, so the defense on the left was much weaker. When Real Madrid's players followed the ball to the left, it was too late. A cross from the left. In the end, it was still Bilbao's number 9 player who easily scored another goal in a one-on-one duel with the goalkeeper, 2-0. On the sidelines, Zidane was about to be furious at this time. He had reminded all the players before the game, when facing Bilbao's attack, you must pay attention to assisting defense, because Zidane knows very well, there is a clear gap between the ability of Real Madrid players and Bilbao players, at least, when the defensive ability of Real Madrid players is compared with the offensive ability of Bilbao. The gap between the two sides is not enough for Real Madrid players to succeed in a one-on-one result. Now the players on the field are too amateur. A zone defense cannot be done, at least assisting defense needs to keep up. However, these 2 goals were lost. The players did not follow Zidane's instructions. Assist defense. Pay attention to assist defense. Have you all forgotten the pre-match training? After hearing Zidane's voice, Li Chu finally understood, there is a problem with Real Madrid's defense. So, after communicating with several teammates near the center circle, when Real Madrid served the ball again, Li Chu took the initiative to come to the position of the back midfielder. This position is Li Chu's choice after thinking. When Bilbao came back again, he habitually found Santos again. When Bilbao's players successfully broke through Santos again, Li Chu came up to defend immediately. Bilbao's players obviously didn't take Li Chu seriously. They tried to break through Li Chu by breaking through Santos. As a result, the football was easily intercepted by Li Chu. At this time, Li Chu was a little unhappy. Although his defense was only 57, his interception was at least more than 70, and the most important thing is that with his talent on the offensive end, Li Chu has a better grasp of his opponent's psychology, so even though his defensive attributes are not good, he is definitely a high-end player in the youth team. Li Chu intercepted the ball. He quickly brought the ball to the midfield. Behind him, his own defender had already moved up to the original position. That's right, at this time, Li Chu thought of Papa's performance in Juventus. Why did Papa, who had interceptions and assists, perform so well? First of all, Papa's interception was quite good. Secondly, when Papa participated in the attack, the flaws revealed by his own forward movement were often made up by the big guys behind him. With Li Chu's active retreat to defend, Real Madrid's defensive loopholes were finally plugged, but, without Li Chu's transmission and organization in the midfield, during this period, Real Madrid's offense had no color at all. At this time, Zidane was also a little anxious, but there was no better way. There was only one Li Chu. If it is used on defense, then offense will naturally be sacrificed. Let's wait and see. But Li Chu didn't think so at this time. When the first half of the game was about to end, Real Madrid got another chance to attack. Originally, Bilbao's players were advancing, but when the ball came to Real Madrid's half again, it found Santos again. After seeing Li Chu come up to defend, the player who received the ball chose to pass the ball immediately, after many contacts in the first half. All Bilbao's players have realized that Li Chu is not easy to mess with. Originally, they wanted to attack around Li Chu. As a result, the pass was weaker in a hurry. It was directly intercepted by Real Madrid. Instantly, attack and defense changed. Real Madrid players rushed to Bilbao's half at the first time. Bilbao was still sprinting towards Real Madrid's penalty area the moment before, so naturally, they reacted a beat slower at this time. When the ball came to Bilbao's half, after receiving Jack's pass, the striker shot at a two-straight angle. It was directly hit by Bilbao's goalkeeper's fists. As a result, the ball flew in front of Li Chu, who had just come up. Not far behind him was Bilbao's chasing player. At this moment, Li Chu had no time to adjust. Facing the falling ball, his right leg slammed the ball hard, fairy from the sky. The ball instantly turned into a white light. When everyone caught up with it again, the football was already in Bilbao's goal at this time. It was spinning on the net. 1-2. Real Madrid finally scored a goal at the end of the first half. Zidane on the sidelines was also very excited at this time. Li Chu. It's Li Chu again. When the players were at a disadvantage, Li Chu stood up. He took the initiative to become a back midfielder and participated in the defense, and when the score was behind, in the end, it was still Li Chu who saved the team. At this moment, Zidane felt that this small stage of the youth team was a bit of a waste of Li Chu's talent. In the audience, Real Madrid fans can finally cheer at this time. In the previous time, the performance of the Real Madrid youth team was really bad. If Li Chu hadn't moved back to participate in the defense, Real Madrid might have been penetrated by Bilbao before the end of the first half. Many spectators who came to the scene to watch the game excitedly. This time, everyone came for Li Chu. After all, Li Chu's excellent performance in the last game was spread by word of mouth among Real Madrid fans. Everyone knew that a superstar finally appeared in Real Madrid's youth team. Not only did Kate, a talented player who completely defeated Sevilla, lead the team to a comeback victory in the last game. Finally, the fans who had been waiting for a half-time, when the first half was about to end, the super rookie Li Chu that everyone had been thinking about, finally broke out. What surprised everyone was that, Li Chu's goal. It was actually a very difficult one. Instantly, there was warm applause from the stands. Chapter 23. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Bilbao kicked off in the center circle, the whistle for the end of the first half soon sounded. Li Chu and his teammates walked into the locker room. From time to time, you can hear the voices of cheering for Li Chu from the stands. Hey Li! Come on, crush those Basque bastards! Li! Come on in the second half, you must win this game. Li! If you can turn this game around, I will introduce my daughter to you. In the stands, Real Madrid fans cheered for Li Chu. Seeing this scene, Jack beside him was envious. Brother, you are good. You have only played 2 games for the team, no, 1.5 games, and you have conquered these picky mailing. Jack's words were full of envy. That's right, Real Madrid fans are the most difficult fans in the world to fool. The team won, but as long as the scene is not good, they will spray. They will still criticize when the team loses. For the mailings, as long as it is a Real Madrid game, they not only have to win, they also have to win beautifully. Of course, for these fans, the attitude towards the youth team is more tolerant. If the adult team played like this now, fans would have thrown tomatoes or something into the field. As for the young players in the youth team, Real Madrid fans rarely have patience, just like those Real Madrid fans who were encouraging Li Chu just now. In fact, everyone is not unreasonable. they are demanding for the Real Madrid adult team. The main reason is that the team spent so much money and offered you a salary level that is almost the top level in the world football in the same position, so you should play well, and the youth team. How long has it been since Real Madrid's Castilla Youth Training Center has seen a star who can represent the adult team? Regardless of whether it is the youth training of Sevilla or Bilbao, they are both famous youth training centers throughout Europe. Naturally, looking at the young players of the youth team who are lagging behind on the field, the fans give them more tolerance, even in the first half. Although they were suppressed by Bilbao, there were bursts of applause from the stands from time to time when they saw the young players fighting hard on the field, so, to a certain extent, these mailings are actually the most talkative fans in the world. As long as the team can play out the spirit of Real Madrid and the style of Real Madrid. Even if they lose this game, the fans will still give their applause. Halftime break. In the locker room, Zidane seemed to have accepted his fate at this time, because it was very obvious Real Madrid's defense line was too hard when facing Bilbao. Therefore, facing Li Chu's arrangement, Zidane weighed the pros and cons for a long time and finally agreed to Li Chu's decision to retreat to play as a lagging central defender, but, without Li Chu, the big guy, obviously, Real Madrid's offensive threat will also drop several levels. However, there is only one Li Chu, it's hard to split him up. In the end, Zidane still chose to let Li Chu stabilize the defense. Soon, the second half of the game began. After the contact in the first half, both sides now have a clear understanding of their opponents. However, Bilbao's understanding of Li Chu is more about recognizing Li Chu's defensive ability. So when the second half started, Bilbao was more determined to play Real Madrid's two flanks. Aren't you a lagging midfielder? Aren't you going to make up for the defense in the back? I'll play on one side of your side, and when you come to make up for the defense, I'll move to the other side. Let's see if I can run you to death or if you can intercept our ball. The result, Li Chu, who has the template of young Zidane, let the young people of Bilbao know a truth. Your uncle is still your uncle. With a strength of 84 and a physical strength of 84, Li Chu's physical fitness is enough for his defensive area to cover the entire second half, and the vision of 91 and the reaction ability of 99 make Li Chu have a terrifying dominance in prediction. Bilbao wants to avoid Li Chu by transferring the ball over a large range. The final result is, Li Chu easily intercepted the ball, so, from the scene, Real Madrid was suppressed by Bilbao in its own half, but in fact, Bilbao rarely had the opportunity to face the Real Madrid goal, let alone threaten the Real Madrid goal, and as time passed, Bilbao has been continuing this progress attack. Many players' physical strength has been a little bit behind. Obviously, Bilbao's players are a little bit unable to run at this time. When the time came to the 78th minute, Li Chu successfully completed an interception with his teammates. Then he made a simple wall-to-wall cooperation with his teammates and shook off the Bilbao players who wanted to counter-rob. Then, after casually glancing at the situation on the field, Li Chu kicked near the center circle. I saw the football sticking to the grass and directly penetrated the entire back of Bilbao, past 5 Bilbao defenders and came to Bilbao's penalty area, and Jack, who trained with Li Chu every day, he started to speed up the moment Li Chu kicked, counter-offside success. Facing Bilbao's goalkeeper, Jack kicked the ball straight to the upper right corner of the goal. 2:2. On the sidelines, Zidane waved his arms excitedly. The coach of Bilbao kicked the mineral water on the ground in a rage. In the stands not far away, the fans of Real Madrid gave the warmest applause. There were less than 2,000 fans watching the game, but at this time, they cheered like a tsunami. Li. 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 Countless fans shouted Li Chu's name. Tragic Jack, he scored the goal, but none of the fans cheered for him. The score was tied. This was an unacceptable result for Bilbao's players. So, after serving the ball in the center circle again, Bilbao's players attacked Real Madrid's goal again. Even under the instruction of the head coach, Bilbao's two fullbacks turned into sword-carrying defenders and participated in the attack together. For a while, Real Madrid's goal was in a state of panic. Fortunately, the players of Bilbao were obviously running out of energy at this time. So the final shots of the attacks were distorted. As a result, the ball was finally hit away, and Li Chu, facing so many offensive players, because the opponent had more receiving points and they all deliberately avoided his side, he could only run harder. even, seeing Bilbao's siege, the other Real Madrid players quickly shrank back to their own half to help Li Chu and his team defend. In the remaining time of the game, it almost became Bilbao's half-court attack and defense drill, at this time, except for Li Chu, whose physical fitness was obviously better than others, all the players on both sides were relying on a breath to support themselves at this time. It can be said, everyone was already at the end of their strength at this time, even Li Chu. At this time, I also felt like there was a fire burning in my chest, but Li Chu still gritted his teeth and persisted. When Bilbao attacked again, the referee was already looking at the clock. Obviously, the game was about to end. Result: the players of both sides had a melee near the Real Madrid penalty area. In the end, the Real Madrid player was the first to touch the football, and with a big foot, the football kicked near the midfield. Looking at the football, although Li Chu was already quite tired at this time, in the end, he still swung his legs and ran towards the football. Looking at the speed of Li Chu's sprint this time, it was obvious that everyone was shocked. This kid, is it a cow? At this moment, he still has the energy to sprint? Left the Bilbao players far behind. Li Chu, who received the football near the center circle, looked at Bilbao's half. It turned out that there was no Bilbao player except the goalkeeper. Unfortunately, Li Chu knew that he couldn't hold on to run to the goal of Bilbao at high speed with the ball at this time. Feeling the panting sound like a bellows behind him, Li Chu knew that Bilbao's players were about to come up, observed the position of Bilbao's goalkeeper again. Then, Li Chu used all his remaining strength to hit the football hard. Finally, in the eyes of everyone in the stadium, the football flew more than 50 meters from the center circle and landed accurately in Bilbao's goal. Bilbao's goalkeeper was near the penalty area at the time. He couldn't catch up in time and could only watch the football go into the net. 3:2. The moment of the goal, the referee also blew the whistle to end the game. Instant, the whole stadium was boiling because of Li Chu's ball. Chapter 24. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the final moment of the game, Li Chu scored a goal from the sky and completed the score reversal. In the end, Real Madrid reversed Athletic Bilbao at home. For this result, the happiest people are naturally the Real Madrid fans who came to watch the game. After all, it is so happy for these fans to see such a brilliant performance of the Real Madrid youth team. This means, Real Madrid's own youth training. Castilla will eventually be an eagle flying out. When they fight with Barcelona fans in the future, if they still talk about La Masia, at that time, Real Madrid fans can use Li Chu to fight back against them. The only thing that makes Real Madrid fans feel a little regretful is, the opponent of this game, is not Barcelona's youth team. However, when I think that the youth league has just begun, there is still a lot of time behind. At this time, the fans of Real Madrid began to look forward to the scene of their youth team meeting the youth team of Barcelona. When the time comes, let Li Chu go all out and beat them 10-0. That when it comes to this score, the fans of Real Madrid are still quite depressed. After all, in the previous seasons, the youth team of Barcelona scored 9 goals in the game against the youth team of Real Madrid. If this revenge is not avenged, all the fans of Real Madrid will be in a bad mood. Won the game, it should have been a good thing, but Zidane was not in a good mood at this time, although there were only 2 short games. But, Zidane finally confirmed at this time, the current youth team, it is no longer of much help to Li Chu. Li Chu wants to continue to improve. He should go to the adult team game. With the ability shown by Li Chu now, although his defensive ability is not good in the adult team, but Li Chu can be the main force of the team in the offensive end, even in La Liga. Let Li Chu leave. Or keep Li Chu for a year for the championship of the youth team. At this time, Zidane's heart was also conflicted. Hey, old friend. Why are you here? Returned home. As a result, he found that his agent was waiting at the door early. Zidane was indeed a little surprised by the arrival of the agent. After so many years of cooperation, the two have long become good friends who can talk about anything. Zidane, who was originally worried about Li Chu's stay or departure, seeing his old friend at this time, he was naturally very happy. Ha ha ha. What kind of young man can actually make you worry? After Zidane's explanation, soon, the agent Alain Migliaccio also became very interested in Li Chu. Although Migliaccio is not as famous as Raiola or Mendes, but, actually, in the entire European football world, Migliaccio's power is not small. because of Zidane's relationship, so whether it is France or Italy, Miliacho has a very deep relationship, and if there are any geniuses in these two countries. All clubs hope that Miliacho will sign these young players. What makes Miliacho excited, in fact, it is Zidane's identity. With Zidane's identity, he actually praises a young player from the youth team so much. This is really rare in the many years that Miliacho has known Zidane, and Zidane's vision. Miliacho naturally trusts it very much. Are you sure this is a young player, not the data when you were young? After getting the various data of Real Madrid's team test given by Zidane, Miliacho was stunned at the time. How can this be the data that an 18-year-old player can have? Even a 23-year-old player may not be able to match Li Chu in many statistics. Of course, Li Chu also has shortcomings, but it's okay. Li Chu is still very young now, there is plenty of time to improve himself. Finally, after thinking about it, Miliacho still asked his own question. Zidane, what can you get by keeping Li Chu? And what will you get if you let him go? Hey! Old man! Don't look at me like that. I say that only because Li Chu is a Yen countryman. Yen countrymen are the most grateful. Hearing his agent say this, Zidane also began to think seriously. Actually, there is no need to think about it, because if he keeps Li Chu, he will only get a youth league championship at most. For Zidane, who is full of honors, this trophy is really useless. On the contrary, if he can let Li Chu go at this time, even personally recommend him to the Real Madrid adult team. In that case, not only Real Madrid can get a genius, but also make Florentino value himself more. Li Chu also regards himself as a talent scout. Others don't know, but when Li Chu was able to stay in the youth team, he had expressed his gratitude to himself many times. Okay. I'm convinced by you. I'll go talk to Real Madrid now. As a result, before he got up, Zidane was pulled by Miliacho again. Old man, I think what Li Chu needs most now is an agent. After all, when negotiating with the team, an agent is more suitable. What do you think? Finished, he also winked at Zidane. Young man. Don't be nervous, I just bring you to meet someone who may be helpful to you. After saying that, Zidane introduced the fat man next to Li Chu. When he heard that the fat man was his agent, Li Chu admitted that he was a little surprised. You know, Zidane's agent now came to the training ground with Zidane to find him. What does this mean? It means that he will have the same agent as a big name like Zidane. Li Chu, who started over again, naturally, he understood the importance of agents. For ordinary players, at most, agents help them with each contract signing. So many ordinary players, in fact, they did not choose to hire a dedicated agent, but hired an agent temporarily every time they signed a contract. And if a big-name agent wants to sign you, it means, this agent is very optimistic about your future. Therefore, he will provide you with exclusive services. Signing a contract and striving for a bigger contract is just the most insignificant thing, like helping players screen endorsements, dealing with off-field trivia, even public relations and so on, help you handle things from all aspects. As an employer, the player only needs to concentrate on playing football. Chapter 25. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The contract between Miliacho and Li Chu went very smoothly. It was so smooth that Miliacho felt a little incredible, you know, with the fact that many black-hearted agents in previous years specifically cheated those naive young players. It has long been known to all players today. With the development of the internet, now it actually takes some effort to sign contracts with these young players, especially Miliacho asked himself. He is not as famous as Raiola or Mendes, so facing Li Chu's signing so happily, he is actually a little curious. Why, you chose me so simply? It's very simple. First of all, you are Zidane's agent. Being able to become his agent means that you have great power in the agent circle. Also, Zidane is here with you today. Just for this reason, you are at least not a liar. Hearing Li Chu's words, whether it is Zidane or Miliacho, in the end, they all laughed with satisfaction. Smart people, what they like most is to deal with smart people. Signed Li Chu. Then, Zidane explained his intention. You mean, you hope I can enter the first team of Real Madrid? Hearing this news, even though Li Chu had great self-control, he was still shocked in the end. After all, Zidane did not recommend any team to him. On the contrary, it was the adult team of Real Madrid. How many stars, after becoming famous, when facing the camera, would loudly declare that they had a dream of becoming a Real Madrid player since childhood? And himself? I actually have the opportunity to enter Real Madrid directly from Zidane. Don't worry, as the technical director of Real Madrid, I still have the right to recommend players to the team. Hearing Zidane's guarantee, Li Chu was naturally willing. This is Real Madrid. In fact, I also had a dream of becoming a Real Madrid player since childhood. On the other hand, after a night of fermentation, the performance of the Real Madrid youth team, especially Li Chu's outstanding performance in the last two games, finally caused quite a stir among Real Madrid fans. Marca, the media mouthpiece of the world-famous Real Madrid team, after two games, finally began to report on Li Chu. Castilla's young eagle finally spreads its wings. For its young players, Marca naturally gave the highest standard of treatment. This title alone is attractive enough. On the front page, a photo of Li Chu wearing a Real Madrid jersey and cheering after scoring a goal appeared in front of all fans. This was obviously Li Chu's celebration after Li Chu's amazing overhead kick in the last moment of the game against Bilbao. Li Chu, who was already handsome, directly won the recognition of all Real Madrid fans. In yesterday's youth team match, our Castilla young eagles finally spread their wings and flew high. We have always envied La Masia and even Bilbao's youth training base La Zama, because from these two places came many stadium superstars that even our Real Madrid envied. But, starting today, we can excitedly tell all the team supporters a good news, that is, our young people in Castilla are not worse than them at all, and even perform better. Because just yesterday, in the match between our Real Madrid youth team and Athletic Bilbao, through the hard work and efforts of the boys, we finally defeated the strong enemy at home with a score of 3-2. Regarding the Bilbao youth team, I will not say too much here. Introduction. As one of the few teams that has never been relegated, just by absorbing players from the Pasca region, it has shown how outstanding the young people in the youth training base of Athletic Bilbao are. But, even such a strong opponent, in yesterday's game, they finally lost to our boys from Castilla. Among them, the team's number 11 Li Chu performed particularly well. In the game, he relied on his two passes and one shot, and finally helped the team defeat the strong enemy at the last moment of the game. I believe that friends who watched yesterday's game understand it even more, although the team fell behind 0-2 early in the first half. But when Li Chu retreated to help defend, he was known for his delicate skills. Bilbao youth team never got a chance again. Even though he retreated, Li Chu finally helped the team to complete the reversal of the game. I have to say, what excited us most was that from Li Chu, we saw the shadow of our Real Madrid legend, the current youth team coach and the team's technical director Zidane. In the article, Li Chu was praised to the sky. In contrast, Marca even took out the first game against Sevilla for data analysis. Especially, Li Chu was compared with Kate, the most famous genius in the entire youth league, in all aspects, and the results of the direct dialogue between the two were all written out. Finally, Marca vowed, Castilla's youth training work is quite outstanding, and I believe that in the next few years, not only will there be Zidane too, there will even be Cristiano Ronaldo too, Kaká too, Ronaldo too, and other peerless monsters. As soon as such a report came out, naturally, it caused a huge sensation among Real Madrid fans. For all Real Madrid fans, it is definitely an exciting thing for everyone that Castilla can have a superstar. The reason is simple. As a century-old enemy, the team's competition with Barcelona is not just the adult team in the ball. Comparison on the field, on and off the field, the two sides don't know how many times they have fought. Overall, Real Madrid is still in a very obvious advantage. Even the Dream Team 3, which has become increasingly invincible in recent years, has successfully defeated its opponents and won the King's Cup when Mourinho led the team. However, the only thing that makes Real Madrid fans speechless is the comparison between La Masia and Castilla. To put it bluntly, every time Barcelona can't argue, they always use the superstars who came out of La Masia to laugh at Real Madrid, and Real Madrid fans really have no way to refute this. For a long time, Real Madrid fans are about to be driven crazy. Youth training. This can almost be said to be the biggest concern of all Real Madrid fans. Finally, today, we finally have a genius in Castilla. This result is naturally very exciting good news for all Real Madrid fans. Chapter 28. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Training match. It started with the assistant coach's whistle. Li Chu, wearing a yellow training shirt, got the kickoff right. When the ball was kicked out, Li Chu began to observe the players' movement on the red team, while paying attention to the positions of his teammates. Li Chu also observed the movement of the players on the red team. When the ball finally passed through Li Chu's feet, Li Chu did not hand the ball over immediately, because now Li Chu is near the middle of the red team's half. Opposite Li Chu, there is only one defensive player. Behind this defensive player, there is an open undefended area. Have I been underestimated? When he thought of this, Li Chu no longer hesitated. He started to carry the ball and slowly speed up. Soon, he met the defensive player of the red team. Result, when he was about 1 meter away from the defensive player, at this time, Li Chu, who had already increased his speed, directly performed a Marseille turn. He shook off the defender lightly and elegantly, then he ran towards the wide unmanned area in front of him with the football, on the yellow team side. After seeing Li Chu easily complete the dribbling breakthrough, several offensive players also started to speed up immediately. In an instant, the scene became a fast break of the yellow team. On the red team side, they never thought that Li Chu could break through the first line of defense in such a short time. After looking at the situation on the field, the defenders on the left and right sides gritted their teeth and gave up the yellow team players who were sprinting towards the two wingers. At this time, the two had to choose to step forward and work together to block Li Chu, seeing that there was a gap in front of them. At this time, the two wingers of the yellow team raised their hands and shouted to Li Chu, indicating that they wanted the ball. As a result, Li Chu ignored the two wingers and continued to move forward at high speed with the football. When Li Chu came to the front of the red team's penalty area, the red team's encirclement was already in place. The two players in front of him closed in, and behind him, the player who was passed by Li Chu before was about to catch up. It's time. That a light pass. The football was in the horrified eyes of the three red team defenders. It was directly stuffed into the red team's penalty area from between the legs of the left defender in front of Li Chu, and the yellow team striker who was not far away before, also started at the first time. No offside. Good shot. Facing the red team's attacking goalkeeper, the yellow team striker calmly pushed the ball into the near corner of the goal. 1:0. The yellow team striker, after scoring, at this time, he excitedly ran to Li Chu and gave him a big hug. On the sidelines, after seeing the ball go in, Carlos couldn't help but cheer. Li Chu really handled this ball beautifully. Originally, when the winger signaled for the ball, Carlos couldn't help but frown when he saw that Li Chu didn't pass the ball immediately but was surrounded. At that time, the surprise that Li Chu's Marseille turn brought to him was replaced by worry. Carlos was worried. Li Chu was the kind of player who had a unique style of play, but his ability could not be fully controlled. As a result, Li Chu performed fiercely in front of Carlos. Facing three people's double-teaming, Li Chu finally calmly and cleverly made a crotch pass, directly broke through the red team's defense. The yellow team forward who received the ball, it can be said that he faced the goalkeeper alone. This goal, it can be said that 90% of the credit belongs to Li Chu. What Carlos can see, the players on the field can naturally feel deeply. In the goal just now, Li Chu's reception, ball protection, dribbling and breakthrough from the beginning of receiving the ball, and the final soul-stirring pass. The players on the yellow team naturally believed in Li Chu's ability. So, in the following time, every time the yellow team attacked, not only the midfielders, but even the forwards and two wingers were very active in retreating to help Li Chu pass the ball. Everyone saw it. Li Chu is the kind of player who feeds the ball. This kind of player who is capable of feeding the ball. Naturally, he will be loved by all offensive players. After all, who can refuse to be fed the ball? And Li Chu did not disappoint everyone's expectations. He fully demonstrated his offensive talent. Every time when Li Chu passed the ball, always able to find a joint route in the defense of the red team, then the football flew into the red team's penalty area. It was just a pity for Li Chu. After all, the yellow team was a substitute player. Obviously, there was still some gap in strength with the players on the red team, so Li Chu wasted several good opportunities sent by Li Chu. Beep. The half-hour training match ended quickly. After a brief rest, the second half of the half-hour training match continued. However, at this time, Carlos stepped forward and interrupted the assistant coach. Li, you put on a red vest and play the second half with the main team. The second half of the game began. after observing the first half, the players on the red team naturally knew Li Chu's characteristics, so everyone was very happy to hand the football to Li Chu during the attack. With the active cooperation of the more powerful red team players, Li Chu played more comfortably. Shortly after the start of the game, Li Chu was still near the center circle. He found an opportunity and made a long pass with an exaggerated arc. It went directly over the heads of the 6 defensive players on the yellow team. The football landed in the middle of the yellow team's penalty area. At the same time, here on the red team, when he saw Li Chu kick, a long-haired player had already started sprinting. When the football fell in the middle of the penalty area, the striker was already in place. Before the 2 defensive players on the left and right of the yellow team came forward to block, he shook his head fiercely towards the football. 1:1. The football went into the net. After the goal, the striker also ran to Li Chu. He excitedly hugged Li Chu. "Boy! Beautiful pass. I am Dos Santos. You are really great." In the following time, Li Chu played more freely on the court. When the time was about to end, Li Chu was about 8 meters outside the penalty area, facing the football that was hit by the yellow team goalkeeper. Without waiting for the football to land, he kicked it directly. In the end, the football flew directly into the upper right corner of the yellow team's goal. When the assistant coach blew the whistle to end the game, the final score on the field, it also became 4-1, and all the players of the red team, they surrounded Li Chu at the first time. Dos Santos and several other frontcourt players hugged Li Chu and laughed excitedly, and the other players also stepped forward and touched Li Chu's head hard at this time. For all Villarreal players, Li Chu's performance in this short training match, it can be said to be amazing. It directly conquered all the players. As for whether Li Chu can successfully join the team, how could Li Chu, who is so strong, fail the trial? In this regard, no one was worried. Chapter 29. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Li Chu's performance on the field directly conquered the entire Villarreal team. Therefore, Li Chu's signing was naturally quite smooth. However, during the signing process, Carlos was really angry about Real Madrid's practice of only renting and not selling. But Carlos also understood, for Real Madrid, the transfer of young players like Li Chu is not worth much at all. Instead of just a little transfer fee, it is better to retain the ownership of these young players. At that time, even if these young players can't play anything, it doesn't matter to Real Madrid, but if they can play well, then Real Madrid will make a lot of money. In the end, with Vallejo's efforts, Li Chu got a 1+1 contract. Specifically, Li Chu was loaned to Villarreal for 1 year. 1 year later, based on Li Chu's performance, Villarreal has the right to buy out Li Chu. In the first year, Li Chu's salary was jointly borne by Real Madrid and Villarreal. After Vallejo's simple operation, he still secured a very generous contract for Li Chu among young players. The weekly salary was €40,000, of which Villarreal only had to bear €20,000. You know, Li Chu was just a young player who was only 18 years old. Even in the Villarreal team, the 2 people in the first tier of weekly salary only had €50,000. However, because the specific contract details were unknown, so it was still claimed to the outside world that Li Chu's weekly salary was only €20,000. As for Li Chu's jersey number, in the end, under Li Chu's insistence, he did not use the number 10 recommended by Carlos, but chose the unused number 7 jersey. Alan. Great. All this is really great. Successfully joined Villarreal, and Li Chu was naturally excited at this time. For Li Chu, his mood in the past 2 days was like a roller coaster ride, up and down. Fortunately, now there is finally a good result. Li Chu understands. Among them, Villarreal's role is really too big. First of all, he was able to think about the most suitable next home for Li Chu as soon as he was rejected by Real Madrid. Then he contacted Villarreal in the shortest time. The most important thing is his own contract. Although Villarreal didn't say anything, Li Chu is not really a novice. For the additional clause in the contract, that is, the buyout agreement after 1 year, Li Chu is naturally full of gratitude, because, 1 year, for him, there is already enough time for growth, and 1 year later, at that time, Villarreal only needs to start the buyout, and he will escape the constraints of Real Madrid's 5-year contract. This is the best result for Li Chu. About Li Chu's joining the team, after negotiating with Li Chu, Villarreal did not hold any meeting for players to join. it just released an announcement on the official website. As for Villarreal's operation, all the fans are used to it. After all, the current Villarreal is no longer the powerful team that dominated the entire Europe under Pellegrini's rule. On the contrary, after the experience of falling into the second division in the past few years, now the fans' expectations for the team are more just a hope that the team can slowly gain a foothold in the first division. Such a team introduced an 18-year-old unknown player from Yen country. Such an operation is in everyone's eyes. Naturally, it is in line with the current development of the team, and Li Chu, at this time, he is also seizing the time to integrate into the team. After all, the teammates around him are all strangers, their playing habits, the tactical thinking of the entire team and the distribution of their responsibilities in the team, all of this, it takes Li Chu time to adapt. Li Dos Santos was already in position just now. Why didn't he pass the ball? On the sidelines, Carlos was nervously watching the players' training match. Whenever the players on the field made mistakes, Carlos would immediately stop the game and point out the mistakes made by the players on the spot. And now, Li Chu is actually the one with the most problems, because the whole team has only one new signing this season, Li Chu. Now, Carlos basically focuses all his energy on Li Chu, of course, although Carlos has been guiding Li Chu, but no one knows how surprised Carlos was. Li Chu's progress is so fast. So fast that Carlos has an illusion that Li Chu is improving every day. If Li Chu knew Carlos's thoughts, he would definitely laugh, because after training with the team, Li Chu naturally has a lot of gains every day. Although after the attribute reaches 85, it takes 200 attribute points for each improvement, but Li Chu still slowly accumulates a lot. Naturally, after the system bonus, isn't Li Chu improving every day? After the training match started again, on the field, when Li Chu got the ball near the center circle of his half, there was not even a pause. The ball was passed out at the first time. This is a low ball. The football almost touched the grass and drew an exaggerated arc on the field. It quickly bypassed several players from the substitute team and flew towards the penalty area. The defensive players in the penalty area were also very uncomfortable at this time, because the ball was too fast. And it was a half-high ball. A rash kick would likely cause the ball to change its line and eventually bounce into the goal. For a while, both the goalkeeper and the defender were very uncomfortable at this time. When the football came to the left side of the penalty area on the substitute team's side, Dos Santos was already in position. In fact, when Li Chu got the ball in his backcourt, Dos Santos was still near the center circle. But, after so many days of cooperation, Dos Santos started sprinting at full speed as soon as he saw Li Chu get the ball. Sure enough, Li Chu's pass did not disappoint Dos Santos. When his own people just ran to the penalty area, the football also flew in front of him at the same time. Facing the football, Dos Santos made a light push shot. The football easily entered the goal. On the sidelines, Carlos was also very excited after seeing this goal. That's it. I want to get the football, that's it. Chapter 30. You are listening at novelfull.audio. While Li Chu and his teammates were getting more and more tacit in their running in, the 2014-2015 La Liga season has finally arrived. Recently, Carlos is very excited. Because of Li Chu, now Villarreal's offense has been directly upgraded to several levels. Because Li Chu is not only very experienced in dribbling, ball protection, and short passes, at the same time, Li Chu also has the most deadly long pass. In this way, whether it is a sudden attack, a positional battle, or even a defensive counterattack, as long as the ball is handed to Li Chu, then Li Chu is definitely the most qualified offensive initiator in Carlos' mind. And don't forget, Li Chu also has the ability to shoot from a distance. The shot from the sky during the trial. Even now, Carlos is still impressed. Of course, Li Chu's problem is still quite obvious, that is, there is too little experience. This is not obvious when the team is attacking. However, on the defensive end, Li Chu's contribution to the team is almost zero. However, Carlos is still quite optimistic about this. On the one hand, it is the speed of improvement shown by Li Chu. Li Chu is only 18 years old now. There is plenty of time to improve his own problems. On the other hand, the style of play in the entire La Liga is also soft. For young players like Li Chu, the pressure on the field is not that great. However, out of consideration for the team's responsibility, in the end, Carlos still made some adjustments to the team's lineup for someone like Li Chu who has almost zero defensive ability, in order to liberate his offensive talent. Carlos could only let the team's captain Connie stand behind Li Chu to make up for the gap left by Li Chu after he came forward. Faced with such an adjustment, Li Chu looked very surprised. Because, how come this arrangement looks so familiar? After thinking for a long time. Finally, Li Chu remembered it. Isn't this the treatment that Popovich received during his time at Juventus? After Carlos made such an arrangement, Li Chu was even happier, because in recent times, Li Chu has added all his points to passing, so now Li Chu's passing ability has reached 87, however, as for defense, it is only a pitiful 57. When he was in the youth team, Li Chu could still use his body and experience to assist himself in defense, however, in the first team. After Li Chu had actual combat in the training match, he had long understood that his defense in the first team was just a scumbag. Li Chu, who was originally a little distressed about this, really didn't expect Carlos actually made such an arrangement for himself. This time, Li Chu was finally relieved. August 15, the La Liga has officially begun. Villarreal's first-round league opponent is Cadiz, a newly promoted team. In the relegation list of this season issued by BW Company, Cadiz's odds are the first. It can be seen from this. Cadiz's strength is not strong, and it can even be said to be very weak. At 8 o'clock in the evening, the Ceramic Stadium is already full at this time. For the new season, all Villarreal fans are still quite supportive. Everyone knows it very well. Villarreal has been in a critical period in the past few years. If they can survive, then the team will really gain a foothold in the La Liga in the future, and if the team does not hold on in the past few years, then the team will eventually return to the second division. Therefore, Villarreal fans have naturally spared no effort to support the team in the past few years. It's just that all fans are still quite dissatisfied with the team's signings this season. I really don't understand. Although the team has no money, they won't sign a young player from Yen country, right? Who said it wasn't? What good players can Yen country have? What kind of ability can a player from a football desert have? I think it should be okay. At least he is a product of Castilla's youth training. Bah! What good players can Real Madrid's youth training have? That when the time came to 8:30 in the evening, the hot summer weather was finally blown away by the night wind as the sun set. The referee of this game, Lawrence, blew the whistle for this game. Villarreal, who lost the guessing game, first got the kickoff right. With the cheers of all the fans at the Ceramic Stadium, the game officially began. After Uche passed the ball back, he and Dos Santos ran towards the goal of Cadiz. After Villarreal received the ball, almost without any hesitation, he passed the ball to Li Chu's feet at the first time. After a simple cooperation with his teammates, Li Chu had already brought the ball to Cadiz's half. As a result, Li Chu kicked the ball directly before he left the center circle. A straight pass of more than 30 meters instantly broke through Cadiz's defense. The football came directly to the vicinity of Cadiz's penalty area, and at this time, after the kickoff, Uche rushed towards Cadiz's half at the first time and just ran here. Sure enough, Uche received the ball. At this time, he was also quite excited, because he participated in the African Cup. Uche returned relatively late. Regarding Li Chu's ability, Uche kept one sentence in mind amidst the excited words of his teammates, especially Dos Santos. You just run. If you can't pass the ball, it's Li Zai's fault. As for his old partner Dos Santos, Uche naturally believed in him. Unexpectedly, this first connection with Li Chu, it turned out to be so wonderful. After receiving the ball, Uche rushed into the penalty area of Cadiz with the ball. At this time, there were even a few Cadiz players on the field who were still staring at this scene blankly because they had just started and were not in good shape. The result, in the horrified eyes of the Cadiz goalkeeper, Uche pushed the ball into the far corner of the goal. 1:0. This goal happened too quickly. Even at this time, the DJ of the Ceramic Stadium was still reading the list of the home team's players. As a result, then the cheers of the fans were heard. When DJ figured out what happened, he was stunned. Also stunned, there were the head coaches of the two teams on the sidelines. The head coach of Cadiz was still talking to his assistant at this time. As a result, the assistant's eyes widened, and Carlos here, although he witnessed the whole process of the goal, but for such a wonderful cooperation, especially in this goal, Li Chu's performance, Carlos was a little bit unbelievable and rubbed his face hard with both hands. and on the court. At this time, Uche excitedly ran directly in front of Li Chu. Li Chu was directly lifted up, so comfortable. After playing football for so many years, this was the first time that Uche was fed a cake. At this time, Uche really understood the feelings of his old partner Dos Santos. Why does Dos Santos seem so excited every time he mentions Li Chu? No wonder. Uche is naturally very excited about the person who can feed him the ball. In the stands, those fans who were still dissatisfied with Li Chu before the game started chose to shut up wisely at this time. I have to say, Li Chu's assist is really wonderful.